Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti. We are now in the last 2 weeks of the massive election campaign, presidential election campaign. And now what we are going to see is a lot of shrill voices, a lot of shrill attacks, a lot of vicious attacks to swing the voters in the middle who are traditionally known as undecided and independents. So the hardcore supporters are already clued in. This is the moment for the last dash. To use the National Football League, American National Football League language, now begins the 2-minute drill, right? So you have to play the 2-minute game now. So, last 2 minutes, how it shapes up. And as I always say, that the match will be decided by a fumble or an interception or a good play. So both the candidates, to use the NFL analogy, are now doing their best to prevent a field goal or a touchdown. So with that sports analogy in place, let's talk about a few things, what has happened. In the last October surprise that people talk about, there was a moment in which Trump himself got hit by coronavirus and recovered from it. He posted a video in which he said that I'm back with much greater fitness and I have experimented with all the cocktail drinks. So he made himself a guinea pig for medications which are not yet approved. Now that's a brave thing, or it is a remarkably risky thing. The man showed his leadership, in my opinion, in that moment. And he's really back. If you see his speeches, he seems to have been revived like the Energizer battery. I am back. To use that language. So he's very aggressive, very pointed, very sharp going forward. And Joe Biden has to now come to the stumps. Now he can't campaign from his basement. A couple of things that have happened here is the fact that, I was very impressed by Trump's message that he promised people that whatever he took, he will make that available to everybody who suffers from that. So there are many points on that account as well. So the point here is that we had what is known as the October surprise. The second October surprise that happened was the Hunter Biden news. The Hunter Biden news was a remarkable sensation, truth coming out after as many years. So the man, Donald Trump, who was victim of Russian dossier prepared by, we know now, by Hillary Clinton campaign, he was impeached for that. Process of impeachment went through. He survived that. The FBI investigations. Now nobody's talking about, the media is not talking about the Biden scenario, Hunter Biden scenario. They're trying to paint it as if it was nothing. Yesterday's town hall was remarkably important from 2 points of view. One was, it was a scheduled town hall by ABC, and Stephen Scully, who was supposed to be moderating that, was fired. Trump had, prior to his firing, Trump had refused to participate in a virtual scenario like we are doing right now, but he refused to participate for obvious reasons. But Mr. Scully's firing was not fired from his job for something. He was fired for his communication with another guy called Scaramucci, who is virulently anti-Trump. And he said his Twitter was hacked, which was a lie. That was a real low down for a celebrated journalist who is liked and loved by his community of members. So I wanted to watch the town hall for only one reason, not because what the candidates had to say and how they say, that is important, but not that critical. I was interested in watching it, how the questions are posed and how the media, NBC and ABC gentlemen or lady were conducting the show. So if you have watched, to discuss this all and the impact and implications of this election, I have two gentlemen, very bright young people. Mohan Sonti, he's what is that thing you call
software architect.
Software architect. No, you are a software architect, you worked with Raytheon. And Sharad Mohan from Tennessee, he's an author, entrepreneur, and an IT professional. So welcome to both of you. And I'll kick off the start with Mohan in this instance, is that did you get to watch, did you watch at all or what's your impression of yesterday's show?
So I got to watch a little bit of it. I watched a substantial portion of Trump's town hall. I didn't get to watch the whole of Biden's. I watched little clips here and there. So this is my impression of it. So the way this was approached by Savannah and by Stephanopoulos is very, very different. You know, when I was a kid, there was a very childhood friend of mine. He used to say that if I want to pick a fight with you, it's very easy. I just need to pick the things that you don't like, and I'm going to nitpick on all of those things and split hairs till you get irritated. And that's how you pick a fight. I think that's exactly what Savannah did. What she did was she was very confrontational right from the beginning. So she wasn't actually interested. It didn't look to me like she's interested in actually getting into the policies or trying to understand what Trump is doing. She was there for one and only one reason, to see how she can put him down and how she can pick a fight. Because right from the get-go, she was confrontational. But despite that, under that environment, I think Trump did fantastic, coming out and defending himself and defending his policies and what he has done for the country. Now, if you switch to the other side, what Stephanopoulos did was essentially the exact opposite of that. I won't talk about any of the confrontational issues, none of the issues that will hurt your feelings. And I'm going to wear my kid gloves and talk so sweet and nice about all the generic things which are not of any importance to anybody. But at least it sounds like it's important, but really not. So that is how he dealt with Biden. And I didn't think he did good in that either, because there are many places where he fumbled on something very fundamental. Is he going to pack the Supreme Court justices? Yes, he is going to do it, but he didn't say so that in the same terms. So he fumbled on all of those fundamental questions, the policy questions, and about the black votes and all the questions, he fumbled on all of them, even though it was with kid gloves. So that is my impression.
And that's your impression matters a lot, because you have told me that you are an independent.
Yes, I'm an independent.
And so that is a very significant observation. The important part here is I also noticed that they are treating Trump with remarkable, hatred, and they're treating Biden, which is softer than kid gloves, I would put it, to put it mildly. Sharadji, you shared with me that you did not get to watch this, and you were very deeply involved with the presidential and vice presidential debate. And in my previous program, I had mentioned that although the presidential debate, the first one, went controversial, that Trump was behaving XYZ, and he was encroaching and all that. But on substantive issues, Trump did hit Biden hard. And sometimes they say that the effect seeps in slowly. So the effect of the first debate will slowly seep into the minds of people, because many issues Biden did not even answer them, did not attend to that. And to that end, Mohan's point is very valid, that Biden was not even addressing issues. He was taking shelter that if I make a statement, that will become a global issue conversation instead of the process, but not amplifying what was wrong with the process of Supreme Court judge hearings. He didn't say anything. But the public needs to know. It reminds me of the Affordable Care Act, that Nancy Pelosi making this statement, oh, what's there in it, we will know after it is passed. Yeah. That's really abdicating your responsibility. And to that end, the vice presidential debate became critical. In my opinion, for the first ever time, the vice presidential debate assumed greater significance, because both these candidates, are literally and figuratively speaking, a breath away from the presidency. So the question is, I want you to, give your impressions of the debates and if the hearings that you got to watch.
Sure. So thanks, Vibhuti. Yes, I missed the town hall because I was rather investing my quality time with the conservative views. I hear a lot, Mr. Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, Bill O'Reilly, I used to hear a lot. And I also hear the other side, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow show, and all those things, to then conclude, what's happening, the pulse. And I live in a Bible Belt here in Tennessee. It's a red state though, but people are very different, and this is where when I hear the media, especially the left media, the way they have institutionalized the entire institution, where certain views has to be given predominance. That's where what you are seeing happening to President Trump, the way the questions being framed. And I was shocked to hear one of the question being asked by the Democrat on the judge, the lady Amy, was whether she has raped somebody. So this type of, in the name of democracy and idea of free world, they are basically trying to overcome another view or thinking, and that's what's happening to President Trump. So there's nothing new which we are expecting. And coming back to the question which Joe Biden had, like for example, the energy related question, or his son's credential, there's so many questions which went unanswered. I thought the first debate, President started well, especially when his whole strategy, I think, was to soften his opponent by it's like a rapid fire show, continuously asking questions so that he fumbles, which Joe Biden was supposed to do. If the president would have taken a pause, he would have very well exposed himself. Probably that should have been the strategy, because I didn't see much on his answer. Everything he was saying was contradicting what he had put on his website or his 47 years of his long political credential. So Donald Trump should definitely take a leaf from Prime Minister Modi, how he was treated by the same opposition in India, similar opposition in India during 2019, when all of them had ganged up, not only the political class, but within his own party, right? Like Republicans, I was hearing Bill O'Reilly. He was also being a little critical of President Trump. So, which is surprising. Even the Bush family. So, President Trump has to take all this thing within party, outside. But eventually he will come winner, and he should definitely take a lead from Modi. Modi is a politician because he has been a politician from very long time. Trump is a politician only for last 4 years, and so that's the difference we should understand. Yeah.
So that was great analysis of the whole thing. But importantly enough, what is bothering me is that you guys work for big technology companies. You are an entrepreneur, Mohan. So, Sharadji. So the point which I'm trying to make is that so far, Trump has been accusing and screaming and shouting of unfair treatment by big tech houses.
Yeah.
And now with the Hunter Biden exposure that happened in New York Post, it is almost shocking that the freedom of expression that the left talks about, the liberals talk about, or the Antifa is supported, that is the freedom of expression. The freedom of expression to you and I, that if you and I want to forward that New York Post article, Twitter will not allow, Facebook will not allow, Amazon has prevented its download. What do you say about this big tech domination of the playing field?
Yeah. So this is a very interesting field. Give me 2 minutes on this. I will try to be brief, but I'll give you my example. So I'm, as you mentioned, I'm a writer. So I wrote a book recently, and in that book, I had mentioned in the title of the book, right? So this book was supposed to go on. I was basically trying to promote it on Amazon using the technology available. And the title was In the Midst of Pandemic something, right? That was the story, midst of the pandemic. And I used the word Corona. And I just put the book on the Amazon, and immediately it was rejected. I said, whoa, I'm in America, what happened? Like, give me a reason. And I wrote like 5 back-to-back emails, and they kept on it was some iBot initially, but then eventually I called the 800 number. I spoke to somebody. They said, "Sir, in the midst of this, we cannot promote Corona." So that and it was Corona, China, and all the gang which we were talking at that time, which President Trump also brought. So sitting in America, being an American citizen, I cannot voice my view on an American technology platform called Amazon or even a Facebook with a word called Corona, just Corona. There was no literature written to it. It was just like a page, just a no. So, you can see the impact and inroad they have made into it. Now, coming to Twitter, a technology company, a social media company cannot in a democratically elect country and an elected president, you cannot say that president can say only this or that because their audience. It's like you are creating your own world, your own space within the law of this United Nations. So yes, earlier we used to hear that only Hollywood is like that. They're progressive. They're always anti-establishment. But entire technology sector, other than the Salesforce or to some extent Oracle, most of them are right wingers or Trump. Whether it's a Warren Buffett, whether it's a George Soros funded companies, or whether our Bloomberg, he's giving $20 million to Democrats. So in India,
giving the $20 million to Democrats to let felons vote.
Yes, can you believe? Yeah, and in India, with the mindset we grew, we thought, oh, left means all those people with a bag and poor guys working hard, intellectual. In America, left is all the rich people, whether it's a media, whether it's a technology companies, even the Bill Gates of the world, or the Hollywood. So it's very different here. And in the name of so-called progressive mindset, they are creating their own space, which is very anti-democracy. This should be
totally. Very interesting point you have raised, Sharad. That is truly remarkable. That's a very astute observation that while the left, the commies in India were all poor and carrying a khadi ka bag and a khadi ka jacket, right, and khadi, being, espousing the battle against the rich. The left here are the rich people who are leaning on extreme liberalism and totally anti anything that made them who they are. So remember one thing, all these big liberal wealthy guys are rich because of capitalism. They are not rich because of socialism. That is a very powerful statement you have made, Sharad. I'm delighted people will begin to think about it. But I would like to come back on a separate topic with you, Mohan, was that we had heard about in the past about the Hunter Biden scandal. I would call it a scandal. How can a man who is vice president's son, he has a right to pursue his career, no doubt about that. No objection to that part. He has the right to achieve. His elder son was a soldier. So he sacrificed, he committed his life to the nation. The point is that Hunter Biden was discharged from the army for cocaine consumption, cocaine use, and he profited from the office of the vice president of his father. I mean, the guy has no qualification. He's paid $50,000 or $80,000 by Ukrainians, Burisma. He's on the board, and he's paid so much money per month, and billions are raised from China. So it throws two aspects here very importantly, is that what kind of a link does Biden have with China? Because we all love our children. He can't say, I don't know what my son is doing. He was on the plane with him. So he knows exactly. And now even the Biden campaign admitted, despite no record of meeting with the Burisma people, that yeah, he may have potentially met unofficially. So these are English word plays that are meant to befool people, but we should read between the events. So how do you think the Hunter Biden situation, how the voters must take that? How it will affect, we do not know. But in your opinion as an independent, how are you looking at it?
Okay, so I'd like to answer this question, and later I just want to go back to the media question as well regarding Twitter and Facebook. So if you look at the entire process, right, It started off with the DNC during Hillary Clinton time. They have actually invested in the foreign intelligence meddling. They went to the Britishers, who again outsourced it to the Russians, and that is how they created the whole dossier. So they actually went to the foreign intelligence people, to British and everyone, and they got them into the system and got the whole meddling done. And when the whole show is over, it suddenly became Trump's fault. Then there's a whole impeachment process and trying to see how Russia meddled in the elections. And everything is blamed on Trump at that point. Now you see a run of the same thing. Now, if you flip that whole process and say, now we find they have been always talking about Russia meddling, but we see that Hunter Biden and the whole Biden family was involved with the Russians. They were involved with the Ukraine. They're involved with the Chinese. They're actually hand in glove with all of them. Yet they keep insisting that it's all Trump's fault. So there's one additional point is one of the FBI reports, as I remember, I think it's the CIA reports, as I remember, says China and Iran actually favor Biden. By saying they favor Biden, they know that there are a lot of funds that are coming in through this. There is a foreign diplomat of India. He actually mentioned about the same thing, saying that China has invested in Biden presidency, as did Iran. And we know the reasons are very obvious. We know what Trump is saying. So this is a classic example of, translating a quote, a Hindi quote into English. It is a thief who is actually rebuking the policeman and saying that he stole it. Because it's actually, if you look at all the facts, Biden's family, Hillary Clinton, Democrats were involved in pulling in the foreign intelligence agencies of Britain and Russia, and they were involved in businesses in Ukraine, Russia, China, and all these places. Yet they keep blaming Trump. He runs a legitimate business in many places. He's got businesses all across the world. So they just pull strings here. But if you go deeper into the reality, it is actually the Democrats who are playing this game. They are the ones who are involved in it. That is my opinion.
That's a powerful opinion, and I'm glad you are expressing it as lucidly as you are doing. And that brings me to another aspect of the conversation, and that is related to this China relationship which Biden has, and the ostentatious and overt gesture of Vice President Biden to, bring about Pakistan and the Muslim agenda in the election. The entire India agenda in the Biden platform is accusing India of everything that India has done to set itself right with historical injustices in Kashmir, Ladakh, and Jammu. And also the fact protecting the rights of minorities in 3 specific countries, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Now, it appears from what we read, Kamala Harris, Biden, they want status quo restored in Kashmir. And the question is, what right do they have to say that?
So
right?
It's
a very, very important thing. So what is the implication of a Biden presidency for India? Biden relationship with China, will he be fair in relation to India-China conflict? Will Biden be fair with reference to India's internal issues, which have been enacted by the act of parliament with the overwhelming vote? So, with due respect, I'm saying that why should we, Kadapa or Chikmagalur, pass a resolution against the abuse of blacks in this country? It doesn't matter. It's their internal matter. They will handle it. So I say, both of you, go ahead, take a shot at this position. The impact and implication for India under both these presidencies.
So in my opinion, the reason this is happening, both Biden as well as Harris are anti-India, but they're anti-India for 2 different reasons, if you analyze it very carefully. So Biden, he was a senator, he's part of the whole Congress and everything for the last 47 years in the government. So he is basically a Cold War era politician. So he still has the same Cold War hangover, which a lot of old politicians have it, wherein they think Pakistan is for America and Russia and India are partners. So they favor Pakistan and China. So he already comes with that kind of a mindset because that is what he has been working for decades and decades. And you can see a further exacerbation to the problem is that he continued after USSR collapsed. He continued that favoritism because he nurtured it. He built it in favor of China and Pakistan. Now he pushed that agenda even further to the point that in as recently as 2008, Biden was given the second highest civilian award of Pakistan. That cemented the whole deal. So he is a glorious, great person in Pakistan. And the whole Cold War era, he already had that hangover, which he built on for a very long time. Why is he going to favor India today? He has never done it. And even if he does something, he has to do enormous amount of work to actually gain even a little favor because he's been favoring Pakistan for decades. The same goes with China, right? Now for Harris, it's a whole different story. Harris is not from a Cold War era. She is basically a hardcore leftist. She comes from that background. Her parents, her grandparents, and all of them have a complete total leftist background. So she actually doesn't believe in any of these religions or cultures or any of those things. They have their own way of doing things. So in that process, for example, you can see in her video, one tweet, in her Twitter video, right, and a message, one video, she's saying how awesome the pork chops are, and right immediately after this is happy Eid Mubarak, right? So which means she has no understanding of what the sensitivity is. If Muslims think she is favorable, no, she isn't. She will throw them under the bus once her job is done. This is something which even the Muslims need to realize that they are leftists, they're nobody's friend. They have thrown the Africans under the bus. They are going to throw the Muslims. Their mothership, China, has thrown Muslims under the bus like nobody else has ever done. So they do this to everybody. So is the case with Mexicans. So Harris is a whole different problem. So she hates India, she hates everybody. If you think she's a friend of Pakistan, wait till the leftists actually come to power. They'll be crushed. Just like China takes over Pakistan, leftists will take over and crush all of them.
Oh,
So these are two different problems.
That's a very bold assessment, and I definitely admire you for expressing yourself as lucidly as you did. So Sharad, your take on the impact and implication of both Trump presidency in relation to China and Pakistan and India, and also the fact that if Biden becomes the president, what will be the impact? This also draws, I read a Carnegie Endowment report, research done by 3 young Indians, in which they said that for Indians in America, the kitchen table issues are more important for them than India. It doesn't matter. How mistaken are they? I mean, you know, it beats the hell out of me that Carnegie Endowment, which is such a prestigious institution, would publish a propaganda of a kind that as if we Indians are idiots, for us, it doesn't matter what happens, what United States does with India. It's on the contrary. Whatever happens here, we will have to live with it. But the reality is that we are definitely concerned Indians for our motherland. I will preface that one more point here. One of my favorite satirists is P.J. O'Rourke. And P.J. O'Rourke once said in Waldorf Astoria here during Bush campaign that United States will have a real tough time having a comprehensive immigration policy or a judicious foreign policy because every American is a goddamn immigrant and a goddamn foreigner. So the foreign policy of we Indians will not like any foreign policy that favors Pakistan and China, which is obvious. So we are involved. Everybody's involved. Greeks, Irish, Italians, they're all very concerned about their Indian. So for Carnegie Endowment, these leftist, I would dare to call them, these leftist ideologues of researchers, they have propounded that we Indians don't care for what happens to India is laughable, if not ridiculous.
Agree. And yes, this is a very dear topic to me. I've in fact written my second book on the Indian and unbroken civilization, and I did touch some of these issues. But coming to your question on the what will happen if Joe Biden wins? Well, I see this in 2 perspectives. First is from narrative perspective, yes, it will look that India is losing because Modi and Indian government, the current Indian dispensation, they have invested heavily in Trump government, right? So putting all the egg in one basket. But lately I've seen something is happening behind the scene, especially from the MEA perspective. So India of 2020 is no more India of Cold War era. So whether it's a Joe Biden or whoever, it's not going to be impacted that much, because in spite of India, China having a current issue at Ladakh, and there was all provocation support from Pompeo and also another secretary who went for 2+2 meet just a few
Right.
hours back. I would say 72 hours back or something. MEA didn't fall into that, I would say, I won't say trap, but from Indian perspective, yes, trap, because they will do things based on their choosing and liking. And so India has reached that kind of a level, whatever we feel as an immigrant sitting outside, that, that country is vulnerable and all those things, but they have some steel in that, right? So Joe Biden or no Joe Biden, it will not affect that much. But coming to Democrats, they have always been anti-India. If you see Obama, who was supposedly having a Hanumanji in his pocket, a small statue of Hanumanji, because some of his Hindu friend in his college day gave him. There's a story going on. So trying to paint that Democrats are very Indian, very friendly to India. He gave the missile which was loaded on F-16, which was fired to India. So Democrats, or it was Bill Clinton when he made Nawaz Sharif and I think Vajpayee at that time to compromise from the position of advantage which India was. So Democrats have always been like that, and Republicans from George W. Bush to President Trump, they understand the value of India and what India is. So I see in two ways. I see, yes, initially there will be little, it will look like we are losing, but it won't be in realistic stage, because India has also invested in Middle East. See Israel, see Saudi Arabia. The way Trump has divided the Muslim world between Arab world and the Sunni world led by Pakistan, Turkey, and Malaysia, others. India has played well there, and Iran, we can always bring them on the table. Iran is not a problem for us. Iran is like a thali ka baigan, you call it. Give few money and few some strategic point, they will keep on coming and going. So India is well covered in that way, I would say.
Oh, good. I mean, Mohan, what do you want to say on that?
Yeah, regarding the Carnegie Endowment, that comment that you made, right? That Indians are more interested in the kitchen. I would say if the Indians who wrote that article, from what I have read it, if they look at only at kitchen, then that's what they're going to find it. They should actually maybe step out of kitchen and see what really Indians think, and they'll have a different view.
I will try to reach out to them. Surely, Carnegie Endowment is a very powerful institution.
Yes, it is. But how could they just narrow it down?
To put it mildly, I have a theory that United States invests heavily into research, and that's what is the reason that country goes. But you also see the ridiculousness of some researchers. Two glasses of wine is good for your health. One good whiskey is good for your health. Yeah. Those are researches that defy your common sense, or they mold your common sense part of it, justifying something. But look at it, the original wisdom of India, which was Swami Vivekananda who said, and you don't need to do research on that. The wisdom comes from the mind. And he said, when he was called upon to define what is poison, he said, anything in excess. So that is such a powerful, I've shared this with most of my American friends, and they tell me, why the hell don't you tell us more about these things? Because, you can have a glass of whiskey and you might feel better. Obviously, because it calms your nerves. It soothes your nerves after a tiring day or whatever. I know it brings about certain metabolic balance to your body. So the point here is that if you consume the same whole bottle, then you are dead for as many hours, until you wake up. So that's the important part. And what also interested me about that article was, and I read in Times of India and other places, that overwhelming majority of Indians will vote for Biden. I have been propounding the thought that this election in 2020, because of several things that have happened, will be a definite chipping away of the votes. I'm not saying that 90% of the blacks, 90% of the whites, or 90% of the Indians or Chinese or ethnic minorities and Latinos will still vote entire. I'm saying that my expectation is that take a rough number, 20% of the votes from these communities will go to Trump for reasons that he has been, nobody likes the violence which Antifa unleashed. Nobody likes to be told what to do. People have understood that it was during Trump regime that the blacks, Latinos, and Asians had the highest levels of employment and increased earnings. And that economy downturn today is not because of Trump policy, it's because of Wuhan virus, which locked down the whole world. So this is a realization, and come and back it up with Gallup research, which said that 56% of the Americans are happy the way they are under Trump administration, which is a very critical factor. How it will shape up later, we do not know. But Mohan, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
So I just wanted to add one point regarding the majority of Indians are going to vote for Biden. We had a lot of discussions in my college groups and other groups. So that's a very well packaged, misleading news. The reason I say it's well packaged, misleading is because there are a lot of people in every community, they want to vote for the winner. So that actually puts the bias. The reason it's well packaged is because Indians have always voted overwhelmingly, like 80+% for Democrats. It has come down by about 5 to 10 percentage points. When Obama stood for elections, for African Americans, which was already at 85%, went up by 5 to 10%. It's as high as it can ever go. Now, that is a gain. But for here, the Indian voting percentage actually came down by 5 to 10% despite their biased analysis. And yet they showed it, the way it is written, looks like, oh, overwhelming people are voting for it. No, it actually went down. Do you not see that? It's actually bad. What happened is bad. It's worse than what you're actually thinking.
And that research was based on a very specific period in the first 15 days of September. And a lot has happened since then, the Chinese aggression and everything else. And I think there has been sharpening of the attack by the Democrats on the Indian matter of human rights and all, whereas they completely ignored the human rights violations in Pakistan and China. Yep. This is what is enraging the Indian. And I suspect, my suspicion is that across the board, I use a thumbnail number, 20% minority votes will switch to Trump for reasons that nobody wants to pay higher taxes. If you notice the tax brackets that Biden plan encompasses, is almost 10% increase from where it is today. Who wants to pay taxes? There's the second part is that they have begun to attack the messenger. So I want to, paucity of time and amount of topics that we have, I also want to touch upon the Kamala Harris factor. Suddenly you have alluded to that in the beginning, Mohan, but the Kamala Harris factor, suddenly we Indians, we suddenly go very mushy. And my word, I think I shared with some of you in the past, was that I coined a new word. I hope Oxford and other dictionaries included. We Indians are remarkably senti-emotional. We are sentimental and emotional. We go very senti-emotional about, oh, Kamala. But Kamala doesn't believe she is Kamala. Her name is Kamala. She belongs to a Tamil Brahmin woman's heritage and a Jamaican father. But she never in her debate or any other moment has she proudly said that she has 50% mother's heritage. No. Barack Obama was proud about his father's heritage. She's not. She doesn't even talk about her father. Maybe they had a bad childhood. Maybe her father and mother didn't get along. We don't know that. We can speculate. Otherwise, why would he leave? And in one of the TV interviews, when she was asked, did you take a pot or cocaine? She said, yes, I'm a Jamaican. And her father replied to that, don't defame the entire community by your behavior. So there is a very strong thing about her. And you had, Sharad had alluded to the questioning line of the senator from Hawaii, that she asked Amy Garrett about, did you seek sexual favors to advance your career?
Yeah.
To put it mildly, that would be a harsh question for Kamala Harris to answer.
Yes.
I don't think any Indian is happy about it. Sharad, your thoughts?
Yes. So I will just take 1 second to touch the last point. So all the academic and Ivy colleges of America, they're very left. There are a lot of, I heard that in Harvard, there is a Tamil chair, which basically talks about is a Tamil as a Dravidian as a separate entity within India. So that's a different mindset. We'll talk more in that topic, and that's where your Carnegie article comes in.
Right.
Sitting here in India, they write a genetic map of India with a 27-year-old researcher in Harvard. So all those things is there in the place. Coming to Kamala Harris, right? Kamala Harris, when she goes to a temple here and takes her sambar and idli, she suddenly remembers her mother Tamilian root. But when she goes on a TV debate, she says she's the first Black. She's mentioned in that vice presidential debate that she's the first Black woman doing blah blah blah. So she doesn't know, as such an important person, whether she should represent her Indian ethnicity or a Black, right? Whatever she is, she can choose that. But there is nothing. So people like Kamala Harris, Pramila Jayapal I met in the Capitol Hill during Kashmir, when she was talking against Kashmir, and I had personally confronted her with my book and said that you don't know nothing about India. You have changed here. She said, no, 30 years India was different. So basically coming to same. And any political dispensation world over, whether it's a Modi, whether it's a Trump, whether it's a Putin, whether it's in Britain, everybody is nationalistic now. That's the trend. That's the fad, or whatever you call it. The entire, but these people have problem with everything which is nationalist. So entire narrative which they are building is based on that. And one of my bureaucrat friend I was talking, they said, we do plan, even in government, we do plan certain stories in the media to drive the narrative. So whatever left is doing right now, whatever you are seeing, especially from the voting perspective, that 80% or 70% of the Indians will vote for Democrats, is a planted story. It's not going to happen, because we are running here different pack, and we are talking to people, and people who are part of the system here. They are all in two minds within the Indian community, especially the way the China issue has come, Corona has come, right? People are angry. So it's not like that. Things will change. Not 80% will vote this time. Even 5 or 6% of Indians will vote for Trump. That will be a huge thing from what he was in 2016.
So battleground states, emerge in that. But Mohan, I'm coming to you with a different question. If you want to comment on this, you can add it in your thing. But my thought process was that most of the Indians, we are, we accuse, some of the people have accused and told me that Trump is a racist. And I spent some time on it, thinking about it. I have written an article also in which will get published today on creately.in. I will upload it there. So what I have said, that, we are all immigrants in the country. We are all immigrants. We are not white. But let's address that question. How much discriminations have we felt in this country, racial discrimination? But the issue here is that, is it fair to blame the whole process as racist, or one person is so racist, Trump, that he's going to destroy everything? And my take on that is that we humans are remarkably imperfect. It's not possible to like everything and everyone. We all have our strong likes and dislikes. So in the process, like in India, they say Madrasi hai, South Indian hai, Bihari hai. You insult people by generalizing certain things. That also is a sign of racist behavior, to put it in that frame of reference. So we all have elements in us, expressly or hidden. In case of Trump, which I felt was that he can't be a racist, even if he's deep inside, he is as white can be. He can't be a racist. He can't be a racist in practice, because look at his business. He is building hospitality industry, hotels, luxury hotels. He builds golf courses. He builds apartment complexes, right? He's a builder. And he needs all kinds of people, Black, white, Latinos, Indians, to run his business. He is not running the business alone. And he is, as a performer, he would need the best of people who can perform for him. And his business is global, right? From St. Andrews Golf Course to Trump plazas or Trump hotels everywhere in the world. So how accurate is that accusation of racism against him? Number one. Number two is the other part, that America, blacks came to this America not like you and I on H1, L1 or citizenship or whatever we got as a professional competence. Blacks came to this country, African Americans were brought to this country as slaves. So they have a genuine grievance of, being treated the way they were, because even their votes were counted 3/5 until lately, until the whole they had one man, one vote scenario. So, but racism has evolved. It is an evolving process. It's never complete. It never be complete. Today we like something, tomorrow we may not like something. So racism is an evolving thing in America, and it has progressed a lot, so much so that President Obama was the first Black president to be in the office. You have had Colin Powell, who was the General Secretary of State. There have been the Blacks dominate NFL basketball. They have virtually ejected the whites from these games, right? You find only a handful of people now playing in the game. They even made a movie called White Men Can't Jump. But if you had made the movie Black Men Can't Jump, that would have been a racist movie. So the racism attack is a given in point in time. So much so that two of my favorite shows, Friends and Cheers, from today's standard will be a racist show. So, things have evolved and it's going to get better. It's not perfect, but let's not make that as a political instrument to divide people. Your thoughts?
So I just want to say 3 things on this subject. The first one is whether Trump is a racist.
Get into 2 minutes of your points.
Yes. So the first point is about whether Trump is a racist. So of all the possible businesses between politics, academia, and every other business that you take, or any other field in the world that you take, a capitalist is least likely to be the racist, because to him it's about money. And Trump actually grew up in that environment, and he built an empire on that environment. He is a thorough businessman. So he's the last person to care about a race. So in that sense, I don't think he is. And there's no indication in the past or present or any other time that he has actually been a racist to anybody.
Right.
But Biden, on the other hand, if you look at all of his policies in the last 47 years, even during the civil rights movement and all of that, what followed after that, when he was still the senator, many of his policies were actually racist. By his own admittance, the bills that he has passed during Bill Clinton's time and even 1990s, all the way later, all of them have actually put African Americans at a very big disadvantage, which he himself admits was a wrong move, right? So his policies have always been racist. And the most recent one, literally a few weeks ago in his interview, he says, if you don't vote for Biden, then you ain't black. Basically, he has always been a racist towards everybody. So it's all about the media portrayal and how we look at it. So that is what I think is between the two.
Thank you very much. Sharad,
I want to add here, yes. So Kamala Harris, Trump's presidential mate, she said on the primary debate that Joe Biden is a racist. She said on the stage. And if you remember, not long time back, I think it was when Obama was there, Joe Biden had made a statement mocking at the Indian population of Virginia, saying that all the Indians looked to him as a 7-Eleven guys, right? Mocking their accent, like that famous Raghu, the storekeeper in the Simpson famous serial, which they have here. So Joe Biden, as you rightly said, he comes from a Second World War era. He has that kind of a mindset, right? He is like that. But Trump is not, because Trump is a more businessman. He has worked, and especially if you are in New York and raised there, you work with all kinds of people. New York is a melting pot where people from all different countries come and merge, and you work together. So that's a wrong allegation. And personal experience, I have worked in America for 20 plus years. I have fired a white guy. I have hired a white guy who were much senior to me, but from age perspective, but they were not my boss. So I never faced any such allegation. So my personal experience is it's not there. You can always, it's such a tricky thing that it could be related, any action could be related as racist or non-racist, but a country which allowed the Native American to vote only after 1925, not vote, in fact Native Americans were given the citizenship of this country only in 1925. There is a lot of problems we have, but straight away oversimplification and saying that is racism and Trump is a racist, I think I beg to differ on that. Yeah.
I'm glad that we are having this conversation as frankly as we are doing, without fear and favor, because as immigrants to the country, we are not anti-immigrants. We want law and order. We came here to make our living. And I believe that the American dream is not about a Ferrari, owning a Ferrari and having a beachfront house in Newport Beach or Hamptons Beach or Hawaii. So the classic American dream is a typical middle class, good, decent life that you are able to work hard, make your living, live a life of respect and decency. That's what is not possible in the democratic regime. Now that pains me. None of us came to US to remain poor. Let's put it this way. We all came because the country offered an opportunity to fulfill our dreams. Today, the American community, the Indian American community, is very much liked by Americans. As I always quote about it, as one good political friend told, that we love you Indians as immigrants to this country. You are hardworking, you are professional, you are educated, you have family values, you take care of your children, you are least problem from the law and order perspective, you live a decent life, you contribute to society and you don't ask for anything. So that's one of the important, we have presence of respect, but we haven't drawn the clout. And this particular election is bringing a clout to the Desis in this country, because we are going to play a pivotal role in the battleground states. So we have to think about it. Do we want our places to become like Seattle chopped zone, or Balance of Minneapolis, or Oregon, or liberal part of the California, or New York, which is, I know right now in New York, real estate prices are falling and people are leaving. That's no joke. They are not leaving because of coronavirus. They were leaving because of the mayhem brought about by Bill Blasio, the mayor of the town. That's the issue here. How many of us, and I'm asking this question to all Indians, how many of us, whether you are a hardcore liberal, left Democrat or whatever, do you want a violence-ridden city you want to live in? Do you want government to control your life, to tell you what to do? We ran away from that system in India, the democratic socialism. Why do we want to even have that, consider to have that system here? This is the important challenge for Indians to face who are living here, that it can't happen. It can't happen. We don't want democratic socialism because that killed initiative, enterprise, and leadership. Yep. That's what democratic socialism does. And Milton Friedman said once, I'm a student of economics, and I read that if you give the government to manage Sahara Desert, there will be shortage of sand in 5 days. So that's the way the government runs. And I have a vivid recollection of reading in Time magazine way back in 1974 when I was in Gokhale Institute in Pune. Time magazine was commenting about the socialist and capitalist system. And they said that whoever was the mayor at that time, the mayor of New York City was trying to finish a job and he was not able to do it in 8 months. The moment it was given to private sector, Mr. Trump finished it in 2 months. That's my first recall of Mr. Trump. The first time I heard the name, I said, wow, what a system. 2 months versus 8 months. You can't even calculate the rate of return and return on capital. With this kind of, that was the motive of the Time magazine campaign in India, because that was the time when Indira Gandhi had officially installed democratic, socialist, secular Republic of India after post-emergency. So think about it from that point of view. Last quiz for both of you. Where do you think, who is going to win? And can you predict a number in the Senate? Tough call. If we knew, we would win the lottery, but make an educated guess.
I will go. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So 100% Donald Trump is going to win. 100% he will win. Number, if you give me a range, I can tell you the number.
In the Senate, I'm talking about Senate only. I'm not talking about the Electoral College. I'm talking about the Senate seats. Do you think the Republicans are going to win the Senate?
Senate will be close, but presidential election will be won by Trump. That I might say.
Mohan, for you.
So I did some preliminary analysis on that, and in my opinion, I mean, I haven't done my full analysis yet, but I think he's getting close to around 320 to 325 is my guess. So I would say 320 to 330 for the electoral votes. That's right. So that is my guess. He is going to win, definitely, if there is no other cheating or all the mail-in. I don't know. There's so many other strings they can pull. Other than that, yes, definitely is winning by a big majority. Better than last time.
Oh, that's so amazing to hear.
Yeah.
I also believe in the same way that Trump will win. Trump will win for the simple reason that Biden's 47 years in the swamp has made him a swamp creature. And, there is no way he's getting out of that. So you can't expect anything from a man. Whenever Biden complains about varieties of issues, I have only one question for Biden if I was a press reporter. So what did you do about it? With these words, you have 5 seconds to say what you want to say, Mohan.
I forgot about the first question that you have mentioned. I just wanted to make one comment on that regarding the media, the Twitter and Facebook. So the fundamental problem we have here is something called a platform and a publisher. Now, publishers have certain benefits and certain rights.
I'm out of time now. We will talk about that next week. And hold on to that. Hopefully you are available. We will have a call. Thank you, viewers, for being with us. We had a very lively conversation. I hope as you head out to early voting or in-booth voting, take a wise decision. Think about yourself. How does each candidate affect me personally and to our country of origin? Both are important because everybody, as PJ O'Rourke said, everybody in this country is a goddamn immigrant and a goddamn foreigner. So take it as it's not an insulting statement, it's a joke, it's a good laughter, and I laughed. So I hope you will laugh at that and think about it from that perspective. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a great weekend and see you again next week.